Hey guys, what is up? Jeff here for One Fish, Two Fish. Today we are back with another edition of our One Fish, Two Fish Explains. This one is kind of a selfish one. I'm doing it for me. I'm going to give you guys the hardest question we get asked at the store that seems like it should be the easiest question. We get asked this at least every day. We get asked this 10 times some days. And it is easily the hardest question we get asked. And I'm going to explain why, and you'll all get very much why. And a lot of you, as soon as I say what the question is, you'll understand why. And it is one of the trickier questions because a lot of the time we are getting asked, it is for people that don't currently have a tank, that are looking for a new tank and they just started a little one. It is usually people new. Because once you've been doing it, it's more of a salt water question. It does apply with freshwater, but certainly not to the extent. The hardest question we get asked in this store, I want to set up a X tank. Let's call it a 75-gallon reef tank. Perfect, that's an awesome tank. What are we doing? What do you want in it? I want to do some coral. I want to do, as many fish as I can safely have. Just a very basic tank, okay? How much does that cost? The hardest question we get asked. Freshwater tanks vary, I would say, from X to X plus 30%. There are different stuff. There are different filters. If you want to hang on the back filter, if you want a canister filter, you're looking at double the price, sometimes triple the price. If you want a basic LED light, now we'll show you a couple of these here just so you know what I'm saying. And I'm just showing you products that I like right now, ones that we do. So let's say you want to set up a 75-gallon tank, okay? So for a freshwater, you get an AquaClear 70, or you get an AquaClear 110. $80 up to $110. Or you come to a Fluval 307 up to a 407, where you tap out at, instead of $100, you tap out at over $300. So for that, there is a cost difference. Then you go with, say, a heater. Again, we'll run back. We'll take a quick look. So for heaters, you can go with a basic, works fine. Temperature right there, marina tank, where on a 200 watt, say, you're looking at $40. Or you can go with a better Fluval one, where a 200 watt runs you $80. Or, again, you can kind of go with an even more high-end one. I'm just walking over some boxes here, and go with like an H2 Pro, where a 201 watt costs you about $100. So for a freshwater tank, and then a lot of the stuff is basic. It is your gravel, which is going to be, depending on what you want. If you want a planted gravel, you might be looking at 10 or 15% more. Decorations are usually, usually relative to what you want. So that with the freshwater, it is not the end of the world to answer. You can usually give a very quick here, here, and here. Saltwater. We get asked this every day. What is I want to start a tank. So we get asked two separate. What size should I start? And now we do have a bunch of, so there is a handful of little tanks that are actually not bad tanks. I'm just going to zoom in here because we're actually doing some painting at the store. Your Fluval Evo 13.5 gallon is a decent little tank. Your LED Coral Life BioCube, it comes in a 16 or a 32, is a decent little tank. They've got decent lighting. They've got nice overflow on both of them. They'll grow some coral for you. I don't know that I'm going to go hardcore with like SPS or anything like that with it. But the Fluval Flex 32.5 gallon. Is a decent little tank. It's got a decent light on it. It will filter the water decently for you. So if you want something in that size, it is a much easier question because you're buying the kit all in one. You can just look, you can say, okay, that's the size I want something small. The other thing to remember when doing this is one of the things where bigger is 100% better. And it is not just because, and it does sound like a sales pitch coming from the people selling it to you, but please understand, in almost anything you do in aquariums, bigger is easier. If you're doing now sometimes it's more work, but it's easier to do. It is harder to take care of a 13-gallon tank than it is to take care of a 100-gallon tank. Now, obviously, the 100-gallon tank does require more maintenance. It does require bigger water changes. It does require more money. But to actually take care of it, I would rather take care of a 1,000-gallon tank than I would to take care of a 13.5. Now, the reason behind that is very simple. 13 gallons of water will go bad a lot quicker than 100 gallons of water. 1,000 gallons of water will. When a problem happens in a 13, it's very quick to attack everything. If the alkalinity spikes too, it affects a small body of water a lot quicker than it affects a large body of water. If your nitrates start to creep up, they will do it quicker in a small body of water compared to a large. So, just a side note on the actual video, just remember that a bigger tank is actually easier. If you are going to start out with something and you just want to see if you like it, the work isn't a thing, the money kind of isn't a thing. They're great little tanks. We sell lots of them. We see lots of people using them. We used to have one on our counter that we played with. They're fun little tanks to play with. They're nice to decorate, but bigger is easier. So why is it such a tough question? When we get asked that, this completely empty is about 100 gallons. So for the sake of conversation, let's use a 100-gallon tank. If you come into any local store and you say, I would like to set up my first reef tank. Music to our ears. We love hearing new people getting into the hobby. I want to set up, I'm thinking about a 100-gallon tank. Awesome. That's a really good size to start. What do you want in it would be our first question. That is the first way to kind of gauge what you need for, especially for a beginner. What are you looking to have at the end of the day? Do you want coral? That's the first big question, because that's going to determine your lights and all that stuff. So if you wanted, say, between a 75 and a 100-gallon tank. So over here, we have got a 90-gallon reef ready black back aquarium. So this has the overflows built right into it. It's got most of the plumbing, same as that one would. That one would actually have all the plumbing. You'd have to buy the sump on top of this, and you have to buy a stand. So you can buy this tank. You can buy, let's say, the nicer version of the Aquafuge 200, and you can buy even one of the more expensive Marineland tanks. You can get all of that for under $1,500. And then on top of that, you're going to need some lights. Now that is where it gets very tricky, depending on what you want for lights. Nemo Bird is going crazy next to me. Depending on what you want for lights, if you're just starting out and you're not looking for really high-end coral, you know what you want, and it's just Zoas and leathers and basic LPS coral. You can get away with a couple of AI prime lights. You're looking at about $280 a piece. So let's call that another $500. You're at about $2,000. And then say a hang on the back, and then say we add a little skimmer to it. Let's call it $2,500. You have got a tank, a stand, a sump, 2 lights, and a skimmer. You'll need a pump too. Let's call it $3,000. By the time you come in and look at this tank, which is the exact same body of water, it is a tank. It has overflows, it has 2 lights, it has a sump, it has a skimmer. This entire setup is about a $15,000 setup. This has got everything in it under the month. It's got every bell and whistle we could have put on it. It's got the nicest lights we could buy. It's got every little toy, and that's what they are. They're toys. But what they do to give this aquarium ease, which is what we're looking for. We want everything to look good with as little effort as we have to put into it. And as you guys can tell, everything does look really good in this tank. So that is why when we say, and we get the question so often, and we get, at this point, because I've gotten that question 5,000 times over 10 years. at this point when I get it, I always, and I try not to, but I always kind of sigh like, all right, let's see what we can figure out here. Because it is a very loaded question. It is the only time that when we are dealing with customers that we always ask, can you give us a budget? What are you looking at spending? It's a very loaded question, especially coming from a salesperson, because obviously if I'm going to buy a car and somebody says, what's your budget? I know what they're doing. They're going to go to the top of my budget. If my budget is, say, $5,000, but I'd be fine spending $3,000, I don't want to say $5 because I know they're going to go right to $5. But it is one of the only times in this store where we will ask, do you have a budget? Do you have a number that you want to stick around? Did you have an idea of what this is going to cost? Have you looked into it? And it gauges for us, it tells us what to set up for the customer. Because you can do a reef tank for that size. Like I said, $2,500, $3,000, you can get everything brand new, and that's decent stuff. It's a marine land tank, it's a marine land stand, nice stuff. Or you go Sephora, same thing, very nice. It's a nice sump, it's a decent skimmer. Or for basically that exact same thing, the difference in comparison are, like, let's say just the lights. The lights for that tank are $280 each. The lights on that tank are $1,200 each. So just remember, when you are going to your local fish store and asking for a complete setup, it is always best to do a little bit of research to have an idea on what you're looking for. And you don't even, online, you don't even really need the research. Have an idea of what you want in the end. If you tell us everything up front, we can probably save you from having to buy different stuff more than once. If you say you're only going to have 3 or 4 fish, you don't need a big skimmer. If you're going to have 3 or 4 fish in a 90-gallon tank that don't get big, you can probably get away without a skimmer. You can probably do water changes and be fine. But if you're going to get to a point where you know you're going to have 10 fish or 15 fish, or you're going to put the tank basically to its capacity of what it can handle, it is a lot easier if we know all that stuff up front. We can definitely lead you into a better direction instead of having to. There's nothing worse than buying something and finding out a month in, I should have bought the one bigger, I should have bought the one higher. What I actually want to do is a little too advanced for what I have. So there's your advice for today, guys. Make sure whenever you are into your local fish store and you are looking for a new tank setup, make sure you give everything that you're looking for in the end. Picture it a year down the road. Tell them exactly what you would like it to look like, what you're thinking of keeping in it, and they should be able to help you make some save from making some mistakes and saving that money and getting the stuff you need the first time. There you go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.